Welcome back to Stamping at the Warren, and today I'm going to be sharing with you a version of this card here, and it uses an emboss resist technique, but actually what we're using is watercolour paper with a combination of some of the Inkcolor. So I'm using Flirty Flamingo for the card base itself, with a coordinating ribbon, and it's a blend of inks and then a heat embossed sentiment on vellum for a vellum overlay at the bottom there. So I'm going to show you the products that you need, and they are the stamp sets. The sentiment is from Butterfly Basics because I just love, find it, this one here. I think it's a really lovely stylized ink pen type of sentiment, and then we're also using Timeless Textures. We're using several of those in there, and the reason for that, with this one here, I've used the flower from Awesomely Artistic, and it's created a really lace-like effect once it's been heat embossed. So the watercolour paper gets, the watercolour paper is sponged in two colours, then it's heat embossed, and then after that you apply some water. So I'm going to be applying some water with my stamping spritzer. You could also use a nice juicy baby wipe. I don't particularly use lots of baby wipes, so I haven't got any in the workshop. So I'm going to use paper to absorb some of the ink out of the technique. And you'll see here there's some faded areas where the ink has come out. So it's like a faux bleach effect. So those are the two stamp sets. All of this will be on my blog, so please don't worry about that. We've got a 12.5-inch square card base from Flirty Flamingo. There's a 3 centimetre strip of white vellum, which we're going to be putting the sentiment on. And then your layers for the actual card itself, we have 10 centimetres square. This is all watercolour paper, so 10 centimetres square, then 7.5 centimetres square. I think I've got that wrong. Let's have a look. That's 12, 10, 7.5. There you go. I thought I got it wrong there. Anyway, so we're going to be making a birthday card with this. So the first job, we will work layer by layer, and I'm going to do alternating intensity of colour with regards to what we're using with the sponging. So I'm going to grab my sponge, and we're going to start with Peekaboo Peach. So you just want to sort of blend two colours together. So I do it by not completely covering the card in the first instance, and before the ink dries completely, you then want to ink up with the Flirty Flamingo and go over the top, so you'll end up with extra colours coming in, and it's really rather nice. Now, whilst that's there, we're just going to give it a little spritz of water. And then grab my piece of paper that's fallen on the floor. And what you can do is, and the longer you hold on to the watercolour paper, can you see that's bleached out? And if you want to bleach more out and it's not coming, it's sort of dried up, then you can just add a little bit more water with your spritzer particularly if you think there's a particular area that you would like. I'm going to do it slightly differently on the next layer. So there you can see that's really bleached out an area here, so you can do that as much as you like. And what you want is something that looks quite unique. And we're going to repeat that with the next layer, but we're going to be using different stamps on the layers, and as I say, changing the intensity or changing which colours dominate the particular cardstock. So this one is going to be mostly Flirty Flamingo, and we'll just blend in some Peekaboo Peach. So I'm actually using 2 sides of a wedge of sponge here so that I can use 2 ink pads. There we go. Again, just give that a nice spritz. Find the nozzle so I don't get it all over myself. Again, just removing portions. So it gives that faded look, which is why I picked Timeless Textures for this one. I thought it would work really well with the sort of vintage theme behind Timeless Textures. There you are, so you're getting some faded areas. And actually those areas, can you see here where this is drying out, it bleaches out even more. So really pretty, and it means if you've got children around, it means you haven't got to worry about having bleach hanging around to bleach out areas. There we go, so that's that layer. And then our last layer is actually going to get spritzed first. There we go. Let the ink sink in a little bit. Says she. I've probably spritzed it too much. It's not going to work for me now. Blend, soak, soak. It's getting there. There we go. Right, so we're going to use the 2 colours again. You hear my old Westie whinging. That tells me it must be nearly, must be about 7 o'clock. They start fighting because I want dinner. So you can see by doing the cardstock first, spritzing it first, actually creates a more muted effect on the card, and it changes the texture of the watercolour paper as well. So we can put the sponges aside, and these will dry out as we go. Right, so we've done what we need with those. Now we can start stamping a layer at a time. So we'll start with the smallest layer here, and I am going to go with this wood like one, I think. So we're using Versamark ink pad. Give it a good ink up. Give it a good press. Repeat that on all sides. Always something going on in the background here, isn't there? And if you pick it up, you can just see the embossed, the Versamark. Now do be careful that you're using clear, not white. And I'm only using white embossing powder for the last, for the sentiment. So just pop that, get it all over, give it a good flick off. If it hasn't fully come out, just give it another. There we go. Put your lid on your embossing powder before you start heating everything. And let's get going with the heat tool. I'm going to have to talk up a little bit here. And of course, telling you to be careful, and I've gone and put white on here. Well, that's fine. It's still going to have a really pretty look. And it still shows off the technique. That's what you get for having your dogs barking in the background, isn't it? Looks really pretty actually, and where this hasn't come out, I'm just going to redo that one. Never mind. If you don't see the bloopers, you don't learn how to put things right, do you? That's my attitude. You know what it is? I've put the wrong, no, that is clear. Put the wrong lid on the wrong tub. Right, let's pop that little bit in. There you go. And we'll do that one, and then we can, by then the other layers will be dry. And it all happens so much quicker once the heat tool is heated up. So we can now put that to one side. Do make sure you protect your work surfaces because this does really truly get into a terrible inky mess. Right, this one isn't quite dry yet, so I'm just going to dry it with my heat tool. Obviously at home you can just leave it to dry in its own time. And as you heat it, it really shows up how the inks blend together. almost done there. I shall dry this one as well. So your heat tools are for more than just embossing. Use them for drying out paper, cardstock. It just speeds the process up. And so long as you flip back and forth, you'll find it won't warp too much. Watercolour paper does warp a lot because obviously it takes in an awful lot of water very easily, which is what it's designed to do. Right, those are all dry. Okay, second layer then. Let's go. So for the second layer we're using the rough corner edge. So this is quite a solid old stamp. It gives that lovely frayed edge to the paper look. Just work all your way around. And because it's a watermarker ink pad as well, you can on coloured card see where you're going, so you can line it up roughly. And the textures, because it is watercolour paper and it is watercolour paper is textured, that in itself adds texture to the whole thing. Adds that extra dimension. And it's very slow drying, so it gives you time to do all of this. You have to press a bit harder than you normally would because it's got all of those little dips and ridges in there. Right, this time I shall make sure that I use the clear embossing powder. My 13-year-old dog does this every single night, without fail. Everybody hears it, everybody in the neighbourhood. Right, there we are, put the lid back on so we don't spray it everywhere. Tool on again, and this is a different look altogether as it gives it a very wet look. Creates almost like a faux picture frame. Now I'm going to restamp this with the fleur-de-lis in the middle, as I think that that will look really lovely. And then this is what we're going to use for the border on the largest panel. I'm going to put one there, and I'm actually going to pop one over the top of this as well. And you can easily, when you're looking at adding texture to a project, layer it, layer it. It's, you know, very doable. Play around with embossing, particularly heat embossing, because you find that all on your own you come up with all sorts of weird and wacky things that you would think shouldn't work but do. That's that one. Just tap off the excess and then we'll heat. And then it'll just be doing the last layer and we'll be done. Just an assembly job then. Super. Look at that. Can you see? Fleur-de-lis comes out. And we've just got lots of different patterns. So last of all, let's ink up this one, and it's just going to be randomly stamped all around the edges with the fleur-de-lis stamp. And let's put a mark. It doesn't matter if they overlap or if they're going in the same direction. Because it kind of look I'm after here is, you know, when there's years and years and years, decades even, of wallpaper on a wall, and you start stripping it back and you just get layer upon layer upon layer of different papers peeking through. And that's what I want here. And if you heat set it and you haven't got everywhere covered, you just go back and you restamp it. And then I'm just going to do a few in the centre here. Just in case they peek through. You can see those bleached out areas where there's been water. Okay, last dose. Clear embossing powder again. And I don't know if you can see that with the powder there, but it does. It is looking exactly how I wanted it to look. Right, heat tool, last time. Dear, heat tools and middle-aged women do not mix. Right, there we are. I'll try and zoom in a bit for you. Zoom in out instead of in. Can you see? See all the textures in there? Just faint fleur-de-lis where it's been clear embossed. It's very pretty. Okay, what's gone on with my... There we are, you're back. Zoomed you the wrong way. Right, now we can start to build the card. So this can go straight down onto the card base. And because this has warped, and it warps so easily, you want something to stick it down with that is really gonna hold it and bond well with it all over. So hopefully my glue is still okay. And you don't want oodles and noodles because this bonds really well, but you just want some on all sides. And just get that down, and it obviously doesn't matter which way around these are going. Get it as centrally as you can. Embossing powder everywhere. Then next comes this layer here, and I'm actually going to offset these last two so that we're going like this, so that it has a very overlapped look, and again it's those colours coming through yeah, so you're just getting that old wallpaper effect. So this first layer, straight down, fast fuse, that's nice and flat, that piece. That's nice and easy, but you do want a bit on all sides. And I'm going over there for that one. There we go. I'm going to go here with this one, and like this, I think. And this layer I'm going to put on with dimensionals, just so there's a little bit of lift in there. Don't normally put one in the middle because watercolour paper can be a bit resistant to being put down. I shall put that down in there. Sorry, got you out of shot, didn't I? That's on there, so you've got a very layered, very geometric sort of look, and then the sentiment we can overlay across here. That's going to be our last bit of embossing, and this will go right the way across here. And we want the birthday. Back to Versamark. Just put down there. And this time I do want white, so in a way it's kind of worked out as it should. And this time you want white embossing powder. Now when you're heat embossing with vellum, vellum is plastic based, so you just have to be a bit more gentle with it. And I tend to hold the heat tool a bit further away, and I do it from the back. And once I can see it's starting to set, then you can just flip it over, but you do need to hold it further away. There we go. Done. There we are. And I'm going to pop it down just so. I just need to trim those edges off a little, which I'll do once I've put it down. I'm going to use glue dots. Try and get them evenly. And I know any form of glue with vellum shows through, even fast fuse, although I do tend to think fast fuse shows up possibly the least. Right, so that will go so, but you will see a couple of little dots where the dots have gone on, and actually that's pretty much gone in. Doesn't need much trimming down. That's it. So I am going to pop some sparkly on over each of those glue dots, nice large ones. And think we'll have some nice random sparkle using different sized rhinestones, just so it picks up the light when it's being shone on. One more in the middle. There you go. And final touch is some Peekaboo Peach ribbon. This is the new stuff from Stampin' Up. And it's ruched and it's really lovely. So it's actually quite easy to make your bows because it's got a bit of substance to it, whereas sometimes ribbons can be a bit flippy floppy, can't they, and a bit difficult to handle. And this one actually works really quite well. So I just lengthen and shorten my tails and ears as I want them. Don't want this to be too big. And that looks good to me. Snip off the ends at a bit of an angle. Turn it over and there is your pretty bow, which we can pop just there. That's my trimmer just gone bang on the floor. So again, glue dots for this. One on the back. There you go. How's that? Hope that's pretty. Hope you saw it all. And I hope you like it anyway. That will be going to a friend of mine whose birthday is tomorrow, and that's who these cards were designed for. So I'm going to let my husband decide which one she gets. And that's it for today. I obviously, as always, my all my social media information, details on my blog, details on my online store, where you can order all the products I've used today, is in the show more section of today's video. You can find my blog in two ways. One is, well, you can find it in lots of ways. You just basically do a search for me or Stamping at the Warren. But the easiest way is there's a link underneath today's video. You can click on there. Otherwise, just click on the eye icon in the top right of today's video, and that will bring up a little card with a picture of today's project, and just click on there and it will take you straight through to the online store. Not the online store, straight through to my blog, and I'll have all the dimensions up there for you. Thank you very much for watching today, and all the crash bang wallops and granddaughters and all the rest of it. So thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Ta-ta for now.